What's up, NBA fans, and welcome to another episode of the NBA Fast Break Podcast. I am Brandon Brown, joined as always by Ben Stinar, and it wouldn't be normal to have a playoff discussion without mentioning the Knicks. Whether you love them or you hate them, they're New York. They have this big payroll. They've got a couple All-Stars. They've got high expectations. They've been, I don't know if you want to call it skidding, but they've been underperforming for a long time, and I think a lot of Knicks fans would agree with that. So let's kind of start right there. They're in the 3 seed. That's pretty damn good. Are Knicks fans happy right now? I mean, we got less than 10 games left of the regular season for most teams. How are things feeling in New York right now?
I think that the feeling is still good overall, like overall big picture. I think the last couple months, last couple weeks weren't as pretty. Brunson getting hurt, having some bad losses, teams like the Hornets. But I think the overall picture is still optimistic because, hey, in a 7-game series, if you can get to that conference finals, I think that's a win for the Knicks. But I think if you get out in the first or second round, that's going to be ugly. So I think there's still a lot of optimism because it's just going to come down to that playoff series, right? I think right now there's still full belief Brunson will be back for the playoffs. Mm-hmm. I think there's still full belief that they're easily going to be the 3rd seed. It's just, what are you going to do about 4 weeks from now?
All right, I'm going to ask you, what does that mean? What does ugly mean? How ugly are we talking if the Knicks, somehow don't even get out of the first round, but if they don't make it to the Eastern Conference Finals, how ugly are we talking?
So as we were talking about last time, right, the Pistons are in that 5 seed, 4 seed, 6 seed. Bucks are in that 6 seed. So if the Knicks look like they're going to be the 3 seed, that's pretty much set in stone, right, with Celtics, Cavs up top, and then the other teams below them. I think that they could beat – I don't think that they're going to lose. But I think they could get beat up by your Pistons. I think they could get beat up by the Bucks, right? I think they could maybe win in 6, maybe win in 5, but it's not going to be an easy 6. It's not going to be an easy 5, right? It's going to be a little beat up, a little rough game, especially if it's the Pistons. And so I'm not worried about that first round series. Maybe this is my famous last words of I'm wrong, right? But I don't think that first round series is going to be a problem in all series. I think they're going to get out of it without real problems. I think it's that second round series, who's going to advance and who are they going to play? And I think that's what's going to be the ultimate decider. Like we were talking about off camera, Thibodeau has been a great coach for them. But there is going to be a lot of drama if they lose a series in like 5 games in the second round. Mm-hmm. You don't trade 5 first-round picks for Mikal Bridges and everything you traded for Cat, and you got, like you said, a high payroll just to lose in the second round, right? We went from feel-good story to now expectations.
Yeah, well, I mean, and obviously Jalen Brunson he's the motor. He makes that whole team. I mean, when he's on the bench, like they don't even look like the same team. The offense, stagnant at times. He's missed double-digit games. Thoughts are that he'll be fine for the playoffs, but injuries can happen. They can linger. They can pop back up. So how? I like the Knicks. I'm not I don't dislike them. I'm a Pistons guy through and through, but I don't want any top player to be out for the playoffs. You want the best players on the floor. You want everybody to be at full strength. If he's not at full strength, or if he does have to miss time, how big of a deal is that? How vulnerable are the Knicks? How important is Jalen Brunson to everything they're about to do in the playoffs?
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, I would assume that they're being extra cautious with the playoffs coming up. That's my assumption. I don't know that. That's my assumption. That if it was game 1 of the playoffs tomorrow, you'd probably see Brunson, is my guess. Sure. But I don't know that for fact. But you're making a good point. If he's 75% of Brunson, or if he re-injures it, right? Maybe he comes and forces it for the playoffs. We've seen that before. Someone goes out in the playoffs because of the playoff adrenaline and all that, and he's not full strength, and he really, knock on wood, but whatever. I think that you could see a case like a Pistons or a Bucks could then make that a series, right? The Knicks have shown some vulnerabilities without him, right? Like we're talking about, they made it a little prettier winning 3 in a row, 6 out of the last 10, but they struggled initially without him. I mean, that's their guy. I mean, they made him the captain. They made him to run the offense through him. Sure, you got Cat. Sure, you got Bridges. Sure, you got all these guys, right? But they are not a guard-heavy team per se, right? Like they are reliant on Brunson as the ball handler. It's like if LeBron was out, you still got Luka to bring out the ball, right? If Luka was out, you still got LeBron. Knicks don't have that. They don't like Mikal Bridges. It's not like an orchestrator of an offense, right? Jason Tatum can orchestrate an offense. Mikal Bridges, OG Anunoby, they're not orchestrator of offense. They're great players, but they're not your point forwards, right? And so they don't have that. Without Brunson, they don't – even Josh Hart, he's not like a major facilitator in that way. He's a pesky player in a good way, but not like a a calm, collected, like set everyone up and all that. And so I think if you don't have Brunson, you're in real danger. So I think their entire season relies on, is Brunson going to be 100%?
And it's an ankle. I mean, they can be a problem. It doesn't take much for one of those to get tweaked again, and you just hope that doesn't happen. Like I said, you want everybody to have their top guys and be ready to go. Absolutely. I know we've talked about that with with the Bucks. Dame looks like he might not be able to come. I mean, those blood clot. That's a very can be a scary thing, and you just wonder, and you just kind of hope everybody's good to go. I know Cade we talked about the Pistons. He's been a little dinged. I mean, everybody's a little dinged. You just hope that everybody can get out there and play. And again, whether it's a 75% Brunson versus a 90 or 100, that makes a difference as well. And we'll get out of here on this, man. I know he's probably one of the more, I don't know if he's polarizing because of what he does, but I think it's because so many people have high expectations for him, and that's Karl-Anthony Towns. I mean, the dude, we've seen him be dominant. You've seen him score 40 or 50 in a night, and other times he seems to kind of fade into the background a little bit. If Brunson's out, that certainly changes what he is expected to do. What does Karl-Anthony Towns need to do this postseason to maybe – I don't know if he has a bad opinion. I don't know if people have a bad opinion about him, but I think because he's a 7-footer. He can do it all, and he just doesn't dominate regularly enough, in my opinion. And I don't watch every single Knicks game, but that's kind of how I feel about him. I don't dislike the guy, but what does he need to do to kind of be the man alongside of Brunson to make the Knicks really go this postseason?
No, that's an amazing question. I'm glad that would have been silly. I'm silly for not bringing him up. That's a great question outside of Brunson. That's the number one question outside of Brunson and maybe Thibodeau is Cat. I've followed closely through the last maybe 4 or 5 years of Minnesota, kind of through his prime. He was at that point, right, and before Jokic became like Jokic. Mm-hmm. It was Jokic and B. Towns were kind of like your young, on the rise, all-star big man. Remember, Cats made 4 or 5 all-star games, but I actually didn't think he would start so well with New York because he went from Minnesota, right, was home for him, kind of a quieter, less, media, less, just whatever. And also he was just there for 9 years, right? Mm-hmm. He went to New York and he just straight out balled out. I mean, he has done phenomenal. But like you said, it's going to come down to, can he do that in the second round of the playoffs? Mm-hmm. Can he do that in the Eastern Conference Finals? Can he maybe do that in the NBA Finals? And I think he can, but like you said, it's for something sometimes is missing, right? It's mm-hmm. like he has everything he can do, right? He can shoot, he can pull up, and anything. I think if he can have a great, that's why it's such an amazing question. If he can have you talk about guys that can, that cliche like narrative or legacy. If he can have a good playoffs with New York, now you're talking about him elevating kind of a stature, right? Like mm-hmm. how we talk about a Karl-Anthony Towns, right? If he can take him to the finals, or if he can, do, like we said, Brunson might not be full 100%, or whatever. If he can have a 45-point game when it matters at the Garden in New York, mm-hmm. now you're talking about Karl Towns, not in the Jokic category, but he's a step up from where he just was. So that's why that is an amazing point. But then it could go reverse, right? If he has, a 6-point game, a 19-point game with, 20 missed shots, it's going to be ugly. So this is a big playoff for him more than maybe even Brunson.
It's like a tier series for him. Like he's a great player. He's here, but he could go up a tier or maybe down a tier depending on how it goes for him.
Especially with the team he plays for.
Yeah, I mean, of course. I mean, he's in the spotlight more than I can't even imagine compared. Going from Minnesota to New York, what that's been like for him personally. And the monster contract, and again, he's had flashes of being one of the toughest guards in the NBA. Yeah, there's no doubt.
But you made a great point. That's all nothing if they lose in the first or second round.
For sure. All right, I'm going to get you out of here on this. It's kind of been the Cavs and the Celtics all year. People, I think, would be totally fine with that as an Eastern Conference Finals matchup. But are the Knicks going to throw a wrench into things? And what do you see as we sit right now for your Eastern Conference Finals matchup? Is it going to be chalky like we've been seeing in the NCAA tournament all the way through, or is a lower seed? And we're talking a 3 seed here, but are the Knicks going to squeak in there?
It's weird that the Knicks you kind of put in that category because it's but you're correct. It's like they haven't shown that they're in the heavyweight, right? There's just not a lot of good Eastern Conference teams.
Yeah.
My point would be I think that my heart tells me I want to see the Knicks make a run, but my head tells me I think Boston's going to go back. I want the Knicks to beat the Celtics, but I think that the Boston Celtics will beat them.
So
I think the Cavs one's more interesting. I think the Knicks could beat the Cavs.
Okay.
Because the Cavs are in that category where they haven't done it. Donovan Mitchell hasn't played in an NBA Finals. I don't even know if Donovan Mitchell's been to a conference finals. And I love, not saying that is a downgrade. I love Donovan Mitchell. But I'm trying to say is they haven't done it yet, right? So they are very vulnerable still. Garland hasn't played in a conference finals. Hasn't played in a conference finals. Jared Allen hasn't played in a conference finals, right? So I think they're the vulnerable one, but I don't think Boston is vulnerable. I do not. Once Boston is like, all right, the regular season's over. Drew Holiday, you're not going to be missing any games. Kristaps, you're locked in. They are so loaded compared to everyone else.
And they are the hottest team in the East right now, with approaching a double-digit win streak here as we close out the regular season. So yeah, they're getting. I mean, they're always going to be good. I'm saying they're getting good at the right time. Like they're so loaded. Their roster is so good, top to bottom, and it fits together so well. And obviously, they're the defending champs anyway. So like, yeah, they kind of know what they're doing. To your point, those other guys in Cleveland are trying to figure it out as they go. And in Boston's season and has been there. So there you have it. He's Ben Stinar. He's pulling for the Knicks. I think that would be interesting. Knicks in there is more interesting than Cleveland, Boston, right? It definitely is. So we will see how it plays out with just a couple weeks of the regular season to go, and we will be back as soon as we need to be to discuss the NBA playoffs as they get underway. Thanks a lot, Ben.
Thanks, Brandon.